Commander Susan Miller stared at the ancient warning beacon floating in the darkness of space. Its surface was etched with symbols in hundreds of different languages, some of which even the ship's advanced translation systems couldn't identify. But the message was always the same. Danger. Sleeping predators. Do not disturb. How old is it? She asked, not taking her eyes off the monitor. Science Officer Paul Davis checked his readings again. At least 10,000 years, Commander. And it's not the only one. We've detected a network of these beacons forming a boundary around this entire sector. Susan frowned. In her 15 years serving the Galactic Council, she'd never encountered anything like this. Warning beacons weren't unusual in space. They marked everything from radiation hazards to protected cultural sites. But a boundary this extensive was unprecedented. Are there any records about this region in the Council archives? She asked. Communications specialist Kate Brown shook her head. Nothing specific, Commander. This area has been classified as unexplored in all official star charts. It's as if someone deliberately avoided it. The research vessel Curiosity had only found the boundary by accident. They'd been mapping gravitational anomalies in this remote area of space when their sensors detected the first beacon. Admiral John Clark's face appeared on the main screen, his expression stern. Commander Miller, report your findings. Susan straightened. Admiral, we've discovered what appears to be a quarantine zone. Ancient warning beacons surround a region containing approximately 50 star systems. The warnings are explicit about not disturbing what's inside. Any indication of what these sleeping predators might be? The Admiral asked. No, sir. We'd need to cross the boundary to investigate further. The alien diplomat standing beside Admiral Clark stepped forward. The Zixlar representative's translucent skin pulsed with concerned colors. I must advise against this action. Many species have legends about regions of space that must not be disturbed. If these warnings have survived for 10 millennia, there must be a reason. Admiral Clark waved a dismissive hand. Superstitions and ghost stories, Ambassador. The Galactic Council's mandate is to explore and catalog all regions under our jurisdiction. He turned back to Susan. Commander Miller, you are authorized to proceed with caution. Cross the boundary and investigate, but maintain alert status. Yes, sir, Susan replied, even as she noted the diplomat's skin turning a deep purple with alarm. After the transmission ended, First Officer Greg Warren approached her. Orders, Commander. Susan took a deep breath. Plot a course beyond the boundary. Minimum speed. Passive sensors only. Let's see what's got everyone so worked up. The Curiosity moved cautiously past the line of warning beacons. For 3 days, they found nothing unusual, just empty star systems and lifeless planets. Then, on the 4th day, they detected it. Commander, I'm picking up signals from the 3rd planet in this system, Kate reported, her voice rising with excitement. Artificial structures, power signatures. It's inhabited. Or it was, Paul added, studying his console. Most of the power readings are minimal, maintenance levels only. But the technology is advanced, possibly level 8 or 9. Susan felt a chill. The Galactic Council itself had only reached technology level 7. Life signs. Paul adjusted his instruments. Billions of them, but strange. They're in some kind of suspended animation. The entire planet is covered with stasis fields. The main screen showed an image of a blue-green world, its surface dotted with the geometric patterns of cities. It was beautiful, pristine, and completely silent. I found something in the orbital satellites, Kate said. They're still functioning. Broadcasting a message on repeat. It's in a language I don't recognize, but the translation matrix is working on it. Minutes later, the message appeared on screen, and the bridge crew fell silent as they read. This is Earth, homeworld of humanity. Our species has entered the great sleep while our world heals. We will awaken when the time is right. This system is protected by automated defenses. Do not attempt to interfere with the sleeping population. Final warning. Humanity is not to be disturbed. The consequences will be severe. Susan stared at the planet below, now understanding exactly what the ancient beacons had been warning about. "Get Admiral Clark," she said quietly. "Tell him we found the sleeping predators." The research vessel hovered in Earth's orbit, careful to maintain distance from the automated defense satellites that circled the planet like silent guardians. For 3 days, the crew of the Curiosity had been scanning, observing, and recording everything they could about the sleeping world below. "The stasis technology is unlike anything in our database," Paul Davis said, showing Susan the latest readings. "It's not just preserving them, it's keeping them in a state of perfect suspension. No aging, no degradation. They could stay like this for another 10,000 years." Susan looked at the images of human cities. They were clean, orderly, and completely empty on the surface. Scans showed the humans themselves were housed in vast underground complexes, each containing millions of sleeping bodies. "And you're certain no one is awake?" she asked. "Just maintenance systems and defense protocols," Kate Brown replied. "From what we can tell from their satellite data, they initiated this great sleep voluntarily. Their historical records indicate severe environmental damage and resource depletion. They chose to sleep while automated systems repaired their planet." Lieutenant Lisa Mitchell, the engineering specialist, looked up from her console. "Commander, I've identified what appears to be a primary control facility near the northern continent. If we wanted to learn more about their awakening protocols, that would be the place." Susan hesitated. Admiral Clark had ordered them to gather information, not to interfere. But the Admiral wasn't here, seeing what they were seeing, a civilization with technology beyond anything the Council possessed. "We'll send a probe," she decided. "No direct intervention." The small probe descended through Earth's atmosphere, guided remotely by Lisa. It landed near a massive structure built into the side of a mountain, its entrance sealed by doors of unknown material. "I'm detecting minimal security measures," Lisa reported. "It's as if they never expected anyone to find them." The probe approached the entrance, its sensors scanning the strange symbols on the doors. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from an unseen source, scanning the probe. "It's trying to identify us," Paul warned. "Should we abort?" Before Susan could answer, the doors silently slid open. "They're inviting us in," Kate wondered. The probe entered a vast hall filled with dormant control stations. At the center stood a holographic projector that activated as the probe approached. A human figure appeared, a man wearing what looked like a military uniform. "Greetings," the hologram said in perfect galactic standard. "This is an automated response to non-human contact. If you are receiving this message, you have discovered Earth during the Great Sleep." The crew watched in stunned silence as the hologram continued. "Humanity entered voluntary stasis 2,763 years ago. Our world was dying. We chose to sleep while it healed, rather than fight wars over dwindling resources. Awakening protocols are automated and tied to planetary conditions. We estimate total restoration within the next 1,200 years." The hologram's expression became stern. "Warning. Any attempt to interfere with sleeping humans will trigger immediate defensive measures. This includes forced awakening of any stasis chamber. Our defense systems remain fully operational and will respond with maximum force to any threat." Greg Warren frowned. "They're completely helpless. If someone wanted to take advantage." "That's why they have the defenses," Susan reminded him. "And the warnings across the sector." The hologram continued. "If your intentions are peaceful, we welcome future contact when humanity awakens. A small diplomatic team can be roused to speak with you, if necessary. To request this option, approach Terminal 7 and identify your species." Lisa directed the probe toward the mentioned terminal. "Commander." Susan thought for a moment. "No, we observe only. Admiral Clark needs this information before we take any further steps." As the probe retreated from the facility, Greg moved closer to Susan. Commander, the Council could benefit enormously from this technology. Think about it. Stasis fields that perfect could revolutionize long-distance space travel. That's not our decision to make, Susan replied firmly. Later that night, as the rest of the crew slept, Greg Warren sent a private transmission to certain members of the Galactic Council, those who would appreciate the value of what they'd found, and who wouldn't be concerned about ancient warnings or sleeping predators. "I've discovered something that will change everything," his message began. "A defenseless civilization with technology level 9, right for the taking." In the emptiness of space, the warning beacons continued their silent vigil, unaware that their message had already been ignored. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with excited conversation. Delegates from 100 different worlds leaned forward in their seats as Admiral John Clark presented the findings from Earth. Behind him, massive screens showed images of the sleeping human cities and their advanced technology. "As you can see," the Admiral concluded, "this presents an unprecedented opportunity. A civilization with technology far beyond our own, currently in a helpless state. We can study their achievements and adapt them for our own purposes." Chancellor Vexturian, the squid-like leader of the Council, raised one of his tentacles. "What about these warnings? The beacons placed around their territory?" Admiral Clark waved dismissively. "Primitive precautions from a bygone era. Our analysis suggests the humans have no means to detect our presence if we proceed carefully." In the back of the chamber, Commander Susan Miller watched with growing unease. She had been summoned to provide testimony, but found herself largely ignored after Greg Warren's detailed report. Now she stepped forward. "Chancellor, with all due respect, the warnings were clear. The humans have automated defense systems that will activate if we disturb them. We should establish a quarantine until they awaken naturally." Greg Warren quickly stepped in. "Commander Miller's concerns are noted, but exaggerated. Our technical analysis shows we can bypass their security systems. We need not wake them at all. Merely study their technology while they sleep." The Zixlar ambassador's skin flashed warning colors. "My people have ancient stories about a violent species that once dominated this region of space. If these are the same beings, we would be wise to heed the warnings." Chancellor Vexturian's upper body swayed as he considered. Politics weighed heavily on his mind. Those who controlled such advanced technology would have tremendous advantage in the Council. "We will proceed with colonization," he announced finally, "but with caution. A research outpost only, minimal personnel. No humans are to be awakened." He turned to Admiral Clark. "You will oversee this personally." Susan tried once more. "Chancellor, I strongly advise against." "Your concerns are noted, Commander Miller," the Chancellor interrupted. "You are dismissed from this assignment. Admiral Clark will select a new team." 3 weeks later, the first colonization fleet arrived in Earth orbit. 12 ships carrying scientists, engineers, and security personnel. Their mission: establish a research base and begin studying human technology. Lisa Mitchell watched from a viewport as the ships began landing procedures. After Susan's dismissal, Lisa had been reassigned to the Colonial Expedition because of her engineering expertise. She didn't like it, but orders were orders. Impressive, isn't it? Greg Warren appeared beside her. Now promoted to Colonial Administrator, he wore his new rank insignia proudly. "We're making history." Lisa said nothing, merely nodding. She had a bad feeling about all this. The first research base was established in what had once been called North America, near one of the major stasis facilities. Teams worked around the clock to understand the human technology without triggering any alarms. "Their power generation alone could revolutionize our fleet," said Chief Scientist Rulick, his antennae twitching with excitement as he studied the data. "And these stasis fields, the applications are endless." Administrator Warren walked through the base, pleased with the progress. "What about the security systems? Any problems?" "We're bypassing them carefully," said Security Chief Vincent. "The main challenge is the integrated nature of their systems. Everything is connected. In the main laboratory, A team of scientists had managed to access one of the smaller human facilities. Inside, they found rows upon rows of stasis pods, each containing a sleeping human. "Look at this one," said a scientist, pointing to a pod with different markings. "The uniform suggests military, and these readings indicate higher brain activity than the others." "Can we open just this one?" asked another. "Study a specimen up close." The security chief hesitated. "Our orders are clear. No awakening." "We wouldn't wake it," the scientist assured him. "Just a quick examination, and then return it to stasis. The system has manual overrides." They should have listened to the warnings. As they attempted to override the pod's controls, an alarm began to sound, quiet at first, then building in intensity. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. "What's happening?" Administrator Warren demanded, rushing into the lab. The security chief's face had gone pale. "They've triggered something. The pod. It's beginning an awakening sequence." In his stasis pod, Colonel Frank Harris's eyes snapped open for the first time in 2,763 years, and he was not happy about it. Colonel Frank Harris felt the burning sensation of oxygen filling his lungs for the first time in millennia. His mind cleared quickly, military training kicking in despite centuries of sleep. The stasis wake-up protocols fed information directly into his brain, updating him on the situation. Intruders, alien life forms, unauthorized access to human facilities. He kept his eyes shut, listening to the panicked voices around him. "Shut it down," someone was shouting. "Put it back to sleep." "I can't. The system is locked. It's activating other pods in this section." Frank opened his eyes. 5 strange creatures stood around his pod, their appearance unlike anything in human records. Behind them, he could see more stasis pods lighting up, their status indicators changing from blue to green. The aliens froze when they saw him looking at them. Frank sat up slowly, his muscles working perfectly despite the long sleep. The pod had maintained his physical condition, preventing any atrophy. He was combat ready. "Identify yourselves," he said, his voice rough from disuse. The aliens looked at each other, clearly not expecting him to speak. One stepped forward, holding up some kind of device. "We are researchers from the Galactic Council," the alien said, the device translating his words. "We mean no harm." Frank noticed the alien was wearing what appeared to be a weapon on its hip. He also noticed the stasis pods around him were indeed activating. His team, Special Operations Unit 7, were waking up. "You have violated Planetary Defense Directive 1, Frank said calmly, remembering the protocols established before the Great Sleep. "This is considered an act of war." The alien seemed confused. "We are merely studying your technology. We didn't intend to wake you." Lieutenant Olivia Martinez was the next to wake, her pod across from Frank's. Her eyes met his, and a silent communication passed between them. She had been the unit's communications specialist. "How many of your kind are on Earth?" Frank asked the alien. "Approximately 300 researchers and security personnel," the alien replied. "Please, we can explain everything." Frank nodded to Olivia, who immediately accessed the pod's interface panel. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. "What is she doing?" one of the aliens demanded. "Following protocol," Frank replied simply. Throughout the facility, more pods began to activate. Not just their unit now, but other military personnel housed in this complex. And Olivia wasn't stopping there. "Security breach detected at Site 17, she announced. "Awakening sequences initiating at all military installations globally. Emergency Protocol Thunderstorm has been activated." The aliens backed away, finally understanding the severity of their mistake. "You need to stop this," their leader said. "We can reach an agreement. The Council will compensate your people." Frank stepped out of his pod, standing tall. "There is no negotiation for planetary invasion." By now, the rest of Unit 7 was awake. 12 elite soldiers trained for worst-case scenarios. Sergeant Steve Rogers moved to secure the aliens' weapons while Corporal Maria Rodriguez accessed the facility's defense systems. "Colonel," Maria called out, "I have access to the global network. Defense grid is online. Orbital weapons are tracking all alien vessels." The alien leader's translation device couldn't hide the panic in his voice. "Please, there are innocent researchers here. We were told your people were harmless." "That was your first mistake," Frank said. "Now tell me where your main base is located." Before the alien could answer, Olivia looked up from her console. "Sir, I'm getting reports from other facilities. General Alan Peterson has awakened at Central Command. He's implementing full thunderstorm protocols." Frank nodded. "Secure these aliens. We're moving out." Within an hour, all 37 military installations around the globe had awakened their personnel. The automated defense systems, dormant but fully maintained for centuries, came online under human control. In orbit, the alien ships attempted to flee, but Earth's defense grid locked onto them, disabling their engines with precise energy bursts. In the North American Command Center, General Alan Peterson reviewed the situation as reports flooded in. Thousands of military personnel were now awake, with millions more in the process of awakening. "Begin civilian awakening protocols," he ordered. "Priority 1 personnel first: government, infrastructure, medical." He looked at the global map showing the alien intrusion points. "And prepare for immediate counteroffensive. We're taking back our planet." Administrator Greg Warren stared at the security feeds in horror. What had begun as a simple research mission was rapidly becoming a nightmare. All across North America, human military forces were emerging from their stasis facilities, fully armed and organized. "We need to call for reinforcements," he told Admiral Clark over the emergency channel. "They're waking up faster than we anticipated." "The Chancellor has already dispatched the Third Fleet," Admiral Clark replied, his voice tight with stress. "They'll arrive in 6 days. Until then, evacuate all non-essential personnel to the orbital platforms." Greg looked out the window of the command center. In the distance, he could see columns of smoke rising from the research outposts that had already been overrun. "I don't think we have 6 days," he said quietly. At the North American Military Command, Captain Eric Taylor studied the tactical display. His strike teams had already reclaimed 3 major cities and 7 research outposts. The aliens had advanced technology, but they weren't warriors. They hadn't expected resistance, and they certainly hadn't prepared for a coordinated military response. "Status report," General Peterson demanded, entering the command center. "Sir, we've secured 40% of North American territory," Eric replied. "Similar progress in Europe and Asia. The alien forces are retreating to fortified positions around their landing sites." General Peterson nodded. "And our awakening progress. 20 million military personnel are now active worldwide. Civilian awakening has begun in secured zones, prioritizing infrastructure specialists and medical personnel." The general studied the global map. "What about their ships in orbit?" "Contained but not neutralized. Our orbital defense grid has them pinned down, but they're calling for reinforcements." General Peterson's expression hardened. "Then we need to be ready when those reinforcements arrive. Activate the Deep Space Monitoring Network. And wake up Chief Strategist Diane Foster. We'll need her expertise." In the secure bunker beneath what had once been the Rocky Mountains, Diane Foster reviewed the data on the Alien Galactic Council. Military intelligence had been collecting information from captured aliens in their databases. "They've never faced anything like us," she told the assembled officers. "Their species evolved through cooperation, not conflict. Their technology is impressive, but their tactical thinking is limited." She pulled up a star chart showing the approaching alien fleet. "They're sending warships, but they're predictable. They'll emerge from faster-than-light travel here, at this navigation point. That's where we'll hit them." "With what?" someone asked. "Our fleet is still in storage." Diane smiled. "Not all of it. High above Earth, hidden in the shadow of the moon, The orbital defense platform Sierra activated for the first time in millennia. It was one of 12 such platforms, each housing a battery of long-range energy weapons designed specifically for space combat. The humans had built them before the Great Sleep, positioning them strategically throughout the solar system. On the platform, the newly awakened crew worked quickly to bring all systems online. Commander Linda Garcia checked the targeting systems one last time. "Weapons hot. Ready on your command," she reported to Earth Command. 6 days later, the Galactic Council's Third Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly where Diane had predicted. 30 warships, the pride of the Council's navy, prepared to rescue their research teams and teach the humans a lesson in humility. They never had a chance. The moment they appeared, all 12 defense platforms opened fire simultaneously. Precisely targeted energy beams cut through the alien ship shields as if they weren't there. The human weapons were beyond anything the Council had encountered before, the product of a species that had evolved through constant warfare. In the Council flagship, Admiral Zorn watched in disbelief as his fleet was systematically destroyed. "Impossible," he whispered. "They were supposed to be sleeping primitives." His communications officer turned to him, panic evident in all 4 of his eyes. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." On the screen, General Peterson appeared, his expression stern. "This is Earth Defense Command to invading forces. Your fleet has been neutralized. Surrender immediately or face complete destruction." Admiral Zorn looked at the tactical display, showing the remains of his once proud fleet. Out of 30 ships, only 7 remained intact. "The Council will not accept this," he said defiantly. "The Council," General Peterson replied coldly, "should have respected the warnings." 1 month after the first human awakening, Earth had changed dramatically. Cities hummed with activity as millions of civilians emerged from stasis each day. Advanced automated systems, maintained perfectly during the long sleep, helped manage the transition. In what had once been called Geneva, the Earth Unified Command established its headquarters. There, military and civilian leaders gathered to plan humanity's next steps. "The immediate threat has been contained," General Peterson reported to the newly formed Defense Council. "All alien research bases have been captured, and the remaining ships in our orbit have surrendered." President Laura Bennett, awakened just 2 weeks earlier from the government stasis facility, nodded grimly. "And the prisoners? Over 2,000, including Admiral Clark and Administrator Warren. They've provided valuable intelligence about this Galactic Council." Lieutenant William Jackson stepped forward. His team had been analyzing the alien databases recovered from their ships and bases. "Madam President, we've discovered something important," he said. "The humans didn't enter stasis because our world was dying. That was just what we told ourselves." He activated a display showing ancient star charts. "Our ancestors detected alien civilizations centuries ago. The Great Sleep was a strategic decision." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this revelation. "Are you saying our ancestors knew about aliens?" President Bennett asked. William nodded. "Not just knew about them. They studied them extensively. They realized humanity wasn't ready for contact. We were too aggressive, too divided. The Great Sleep served 2 purposes. It allowed Earth to heal environmentally, yes, but it also gave our automated systems time to advance our technology while we slept." Dr. Richard Cooper, chief of the Awakening Program, spoke next. "This explains the accelerated awakening protocols we found. They weren't just for emergencies. They were designed to rapidly mobilize humanity when needed." President Bennett turned to Admiral Sharon White, commander of Earth's fleet. "What's the status of our space capabilities?" Sharon smiled slightly. "Better than we thought. Hidden bases on Mars, Europa, and Titan have been maintaining our fleet. We have over 300 warships ready for deployment, with more being prepared daily." The president looked surprised. 300? How is that possible?" "The same way the defense platforms were ready," Sharon explained. "Automated systems have been building and upgrading our fleet for centuries, following plans laid out before the sleep. Our ancestors prepared for this moment. In the detention center beneath the headquarters, Greg Warren sat in his cell, still struggling to understand how everything had gone so wrong. The door opened, and Lieutenant William Jackson entered with 2 guards. "The council will retaliate," Greg warned immediately. "You've seen only a fraction of their power." William placed a tablet on the table. "Actually, we've been going through your databases. The council isn't as powerful as you believe. They've never faced a real war, just minor conflicts and police actions." Greg shook his head. "You don't understand. There are hundreds of species in the council, thousands of worlds, most of which have no military experience," William countered. "Your own records show they rely primarily on intimidation and politics, not actual strength." He activated the tablet, showing Greg images of massive shipyards on Mars, hidden beneath the surface. "While you were poking around our sleeping world, you missed what was happening elsewhere in our system. We've been preparing for centuries." On the other side of the solar system, the first wave of Earth's fleet emerged from hidden bases in the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Ships that had never seen battle but had been designed by an inherently warlike species with centuries of simulated combat testing. Captain Steve Rogers stood on the bridge of the flagship Defender watching as his battle group formed up. 100 ships, crewed by humanity's finest, freshly awakened, and eager to show the galaxy why the warnings had been posted. "All ships report ready, Captain," his executive officer reported. Steve nodded, thinking of the ancient warnings that had been ignored. "Set course for the Proxima Centauri shipyard. It's time the council learned why they should have let us sleep." The fleet accelerated toward the jump point, humanity's first step into a galaxy that had foolishly awakened them. In the detention center, William stood to leave but paused at the door. "Your people asked why there were warnings about us throughout the galaxy. You should have wondered who put them there." Greg looked up, confusion on his face. "We did," William said simply. "Humans placed those warnings, knowing that someday someone would ignore them. And now we'll show your council exactly why." Chancellor Vextiturian slammed his tentacle against the council table, sending ripples of shock through the assembled delegates. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "You told me they were primitive sleepers, easy to control." Admiral Zorn, one of the few survivors from the Third Fleet disaster, stood with his head bowed. "The intelligence was wrong, Chancellor. Their technology far exceeds our estimates. They destroyed 23 of our ships in less than 6 minutes." The council chamber erupted in panicked voices. Representatives from 100 worlds spoke over each other, demanding action, protection, or immediate peace negotiations. "Silence," Chancellor Vexturian shouted. When quiet returned, he turned to his military advisors. "What are our options?" The chief defense coordinator, a gray-skinned being from a heavy-gravity world, stepped forward. "We've mobilized the main defense fleet. 500 ships are moving to protect our core worlds. We've also sent warnings to all research outposts and colonies near human space." "Will it be enough?" someone asked. Before anyone could answer, the chamber doors burst open. A communications officer rushed in, his skin pale with fear. "Chancellor, we've lost contact with the Proxima Centauri shipyard. All communication has ceased." The council erupted again, this time in terror. At the Proxima Centauri shipyard, Major Christopher Lee watched as the last of the alien defensive platforms went dark. His assault force had achieved complete surprise. The aliens had never expected humans to have jump-capable ships, much less the ability to launch a coordinated attack so quickly. "All objectives secured, Major," his second-in-command reported. "Casualties minimal. The shipyard is ours." Christopher nodded, looking at the massive alien installation. The shipyard stretched for kilometers, with partially built vessels still held in construction cradles. It was the largest manufacturing center in this sector of space, capable of producing dozens of capital ships per year. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. "I want our engineering teams downloading everything. Ship designs, navigation charts, weapons specifications, everything. As his troops secured the facility, Christopher received a transmission from Earth Command. General Peterson's face appeared on the screen. Status report, Major. Shipyard secured, sir. Minimal resistance. They weren't prepared for us. The general nodded. Excellent. Your next target is their communications hub in the Alpha Centauri system. Captain Rogers will rendezvous with your forces in 12 hours. On Earth, Professor Henry Brooks sat in his laboratory, surrounded by captured alien technology and historical records. As an expert in pre-sleep history, he had been awakened specifically to understand why the aliens had ignored the warnings. I found it, he told President Bennett during an emergency meeting. They knew. The Council knew about the warnings. He displayed ancient Council records recovered from captured ships. Look here, survey reports from over 3,000 years ago. They discovered our warning beacons back then and documented them. But 200 years ago, a new faction took control of the Council. They dismissed the warnings as superstition. President Bennett frowned. They knew the dangers and came anyway. Worse, Henry said. They knew we were here, in stasis, and saw it as an opportunity. Their plan was to study our technology, replicate it, and establish themselves as the dominant power before we ever woke up. The president's expression hardened. Then they deserve what's coming. Across Council space, panic spread as news of the human attacks reached distant worlds. The species that comprised the Galactic Council had lived in relative peace for millennia. Their conflicts were political, not military. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy evolved through constant warfare. The human fleet, now divided into strike groups, hit targets across Council space. Communications hubs, defensive installations, shipyards, all fell with frightening efficiency. The Council's defensive fleets, impressive in size, proved inadequate against humans' superior tactics and technology. On the bridge of the Defender *, Captain Steve Rogers studied the tactical display showing their next target, the primary Council naval base at Sirius. They're gathering their forces, his tactical officer reported. Nearly 200 ships. Steve nodded, remembering Earth's history lessons about ancient naval battles. They're making the same mistake Admiral Yamamoto made at Midway. They're concentrating their forces where they think we'll attack, leaving their command and communication structures vulnerable. He opened a channel to the other captains in his battle group. Change of plans. We're bypassing Sirius. Set course for Taw City, the Council capital. It's time to end this. The Taw City system glowed with the light of thousands of ships. The Council had gathered every available vessel to defend their capital world. They were arranged in precise formations, following textbook defensive patterns taught in their academies for generations. They never stood a chance. The human fleet didn't emerge where expected. Instead of using the main jump point, they appeared at multiple locations simultaneously, using jump technology more advanced than anything the Council possessed. Captain Steve Rogers led the main assault group directly toward the capital planet, while supporting squadrons targeted defensive platforms and communication arrays. On the Council capital world, Chancellor Vexturian watched in horror as the defensive fleet broke apart under the human assault. Their ships moved in unpredictable patterns, concentrating fire on key targets before scattering again. It wasn't just their technology that was superior. It was their thinking, their willingness to take risks no Council commander would consider. Evacuate the Council chambers, he ordered. Prepare my ship. But it was too late. Human forces had already secured the orbital platforms. There would be no escape. 3 hours later, Captain Steve Rogers stood in the Grand Council chamber, surrounded by his officers and the captured Council leadership. The massive room, designed to impress with its size and opulence, now felt like a tomb for a dying empire. You have destroyed centuries of peace, Chancellor Vexturian said bitterly. The Council maintained order across 1,000 worlds. You violated our sovereignty, Steve replied calmly. You ignored clear warnings and invaded our world while we slept. Did you really expect no consequences? Before the Chancellor could respond, the chamber doors opened. Chief Diplomat Karen Phillips entered, followed by her team. In the months since awakening, she had been studying council records, preparing for this moment. "Captain Rogers," she nodded. "I'll take it from here." Karen approached the council table, her expression serious but not unkind. "I am authorized by President Bennett to offer terms." The Chancellor's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Terms? You destroy our fleets, invade our capital, and now offer terms?" "Yes," Karen said simply, "because unlike you, we understand the value of peace. Real peace built on mutual respect, not dominance and exploitation." She activated a display showing a map of council space, with human-controlled territories clearly marked. "These sectors will now form a buffer zone between our civilizations. The Council will withdraw all military forces from these regions. All research outposts studying human technology will be dismantled, and you will return any information already gathered about our people." "And if we refuse?" the Chancellor asked. Karen's expression didn't change. "Then Captain Rogers continues his campaign." The room fell silent as the council representatives looked at each other. They had no choice, and they knew it. 1 month later, General Daniel Murphy stood on the observation deck of the new human outpost at Alpha Centauri. Below him, construction ships were building Earth's first official colony in another star system. It was the beginning of humanity's expansion into the galaxy. His communication officer approached. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. President Bennett is about to address the people." On billions of screens across Earth and the newly established colonies, President Laura Bennett appeared. Behind her stood the leaders of humanity's unified government. "Citizens of Earth," she began, "today marks 3 months since we were awakened from the Great Sleep. In that time, we have secured our world, established control over our solar system, and made it clear to the galaxy that humanity is not to be trifled with." She paused, her expression softening slightly. "But the purpose of the Great Sleep was never dominance. Our ancestors foresaw a time when humanity would need to be united, when our technology would need to advance, and when our planet would need to heal. They gave us the gift of time." The camera pulled back, showing a group of alien representatives standing to one side. "Today, I am pleased to announce that 6 former Council worlds have requested alliance with Earth. They recognize our strength, yes, but also our commitment to justice. Together, we will forge a new order in this region of space, one based on respect and cooperation." In the detention center beneath Geneva, Lieutenant William Jackson visited Greg Warren one last time. The former administrator had been cooperative, providing valuable information about Council operations. "You're being released," William told him. "You'll be returned to Council space along with the other prisoners." Greg looked surprised. "Just like that? After everything that happened?"